I remember being extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I remember my first year in business, I went from 160 students where half of them were paying, the other half were not paying, to 80 in the first year. If I didn't figure out how to change people's thinking on it, the software would have never grown to where it is today.
All right, welcome to the Biz Life Podcast. I am Donnie Bedore, your host. We are here to talk about the business life, not the busy life. So today on this episode, I have two amazing gentlemen, Master Scott Dolloff and Master Nick Pahanish. Welcome, guys.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So Nick's been on the episode. If you remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were talking about marketing and being before your customers and things like that. Today, Master Scott Dolloff has joined us, and for those that don't know him, he's actually Master Pahanish's karate instructor from a few years back.
Just a few.
We may get into that. But yeah, that's where I've learned my karate as well, too, through these guys. And man, so honored to have y'all on.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So for those that don't know you, we'll start with you, sir, if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Personal and business history, things like that.
Yeah. I don't know where I should start, if I should start at the beginning or the end. I've owned a lot of different businesses.
Okay.
Besides business, I live, half the time in Denver, half the time here. I prefer Denver. Weather is nicer.
Yeah.
But I've owned businesses. I've pretty much run businesses all my life, even as a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Married, kids.
Married, two kids, both grown, grown kids that are still living with us, which we are grateful for. We really enjoy having them.
Yeah.
So my daughter is nearly 27, and my son is, I think, 19, going on 20.
Yeah. Perfect.
And they both work almost full time, and yeah,
excellent. And Nick,
I've been doing business since as soon as I met this guy. And,
and that's what I want to get into a little bit, because this is a pretty unique situation, and love to dive in.
Yeah, I started doing some odd and end stuff when I was 13. By the time I was 15, I was with Master Dolloff and been adventuring ever since in business. Wife, 3 kids, grandkid, and one more on the way. So, I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, cool. So one thing I love about the podcast is I get different business owners on here, right? Most of those that are listening or watching, are business owners as well too. Thus the biz life, right? So I would like to talk, I guess let's start at the end, right? You had said, don't know where to start, beginning or end.
Yeah.
Let's start where we're at today.
Okay.
Right. And if we go back, we go back, right?
Yeah.
So the business that you have,
Zivvy.
is Zivvy.
Yes.
And for those that don't know about Zivvy, it's a martial arts software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a growth platform and management software for, we started primarily with martial arts schools, because that was, the nature of what I started out in. And then we have moved into more open, boutique fitness type businesses that are kickboxing, boxing franchises, CrossFit gyms, you name it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said martial arts just because that's where I'm connected to Zivvy, right? But yeah, you definitely have a lot wider, customer base than just a martial arts school.
Right.
Right. For sure. And so, what's really interesting to me is, you go from, teaching martial arts to now running one of the largest software companies in the United States to help martial arts business owners.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's it's pretty fascinating to me that you made that leap and made that jump.
Right.
Right. When did you start teaching martial arts, or when did you get into that martial arts industry?
Well, I started martial arts probably when I was 4 or 5, somewhere in there.
Okay. So you've been doing it for about 20 years then?
Yeah, just 20. Just 20. So I'm 47 now.
Okay. I didn't know we were the same age.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be dang. Well, my birthday's Friday. When's yours?
February.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a little bit older.
Yeah, there you go.
How about that?
Yeah, so
4 or 5 years old.
started then officially, started at an official martial arts school when I was probably 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
Did martial arts, throughout that period of my life into teenagers, earned my black belt. And along the way, I was starting to, learn to teach warm-ups and basic way everybody back then, started getting into teaching.
Yeah.
And then did more and more competitions where, well, when I first started doing competitions, from the time I was probably 6, I got disqualified for excessive contact or face contact for years as far as sparring is concerned. So, tournaments were not as organized back then. So, we would start with rules meetings at 8:30 in the morning, and then my division for the tournament might get started at 6:30 or 7
at
night.
Yeah.
And
Forgot the rules.
Right. And then, 30 seconds into it, I'm disqualified for beating the hell out of somebody. And
little Cobra Kai.
and
Get
my
'em.
mom and my mom or my dad or both of them are like, okay, let's go home. And this happened for, 10 years of them trekking me across Dallas, Fort Worth or Houston or Galveston or wherever, and then losing the tournament because of getting disqualified.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they put up with it.
No kidding, right?
But after black belt, I started, placing and doing well. And I could, I remember the first national tournament I competed in where we were able to hit to the face. And I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
I love it.
And I started doing great after that. So
yeah. That's cool. That's cool. And so when did you transition from, or when did you start your first martial art academy?
Well, I started helping my instructor when I was 13. I went to my first martial arts business seminar when I was 13 by an old martial arts billing company. And then when I was 18, I got the chance to buy my school, so I bought it.
Wow. Most 18-year-olds wouldn't even think about something
I had no business doing it.
Well, I know, but you had the wherewithal to at least try.
Yeah.
Right?
I am in my delusional brain. I thought I was already running the entire school because I was teaching people or doing a few signups or whatever. So I thought,
I got this.
Yeah, this is nothing. Not realizing I didn't know a whole lot about a whole lot of the business that I never touched before. So it was difficult.
Yeah. And I see that a lot in business owners, right? They're really good at XYZ, right?
At the thing.
The thing, whatever they're good at. And then they're like, you know what? I can do this. And then they go start their own business and they realize that business is more than just that thing that they're good at.
Yeah.
And they realize, oh crap, I really suck at this.
Yeah. The boss that they were working for that they thought was an idiot.
Yeah.
Now they're that guy. They're that idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a steep learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so, and y'all met, whenever you were how old?
I was 12 or 13.
Yeah. So this relationship goes back a
long way.
Yeah. Being 41 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. My gray hair's kicking in for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was 13 and my parents brought me in, and I was in an interesting spot as a teenager. My parents put me into a whole bunch of different sports, tried out for all of them, got accepted to all of them, signed up for none of them. And finally, my dad chose for me.
Yeah.
Pulled up to a location, and I was like, what are we doing here? And he was like, you're doing martial arts. I said, I gave you the opportunity to pick. You didn't pick, so I picked for you. So put me in with Master Dolloff, and man, the history from there. So, but the first year was interesting. I won't go into too much detail on that one, but he might. I don't know. I'm not gonna. So, as far as the first year was a little rough, but it's like right around my blue belt was kind of a pivot point for me in there, to where I really kind of started to take it seriously and started putting in effort, and I got it invited into a little bit of a leadership role and started helping in the academy with little things. And man, it started giving me a little bit of a bigger picture on everything. And I don't know, it's a great experience in the martial arts, and life changing stuff. I mean, that's why we do what we do. So
yeah, for sure. So the time that you realized that, you know what, I think I have an entrepreneur bug.
Yes.
You were working for...
Yeah, I was working with Master Dolloff. And golly, I was about 17, I think. It was about 4 or 5 years in. I started kind of managing over most of the school there. And it was right around that point was where I was like, I started to see like 17 is like, oh man, one day this is my life goal. I'm get 10 martial arts schools together. We're going to rock this thing. And, 17, I had that idea. And it wasn't until about 21, I really started kind of pushing on, hey, let's go open more and kind of get out there and go do that. And then at 21, we started out in Crowley and 2004. And just kept the business moving from there. But yeah, that entrepreneur bug. You said 18, you mentioned 18 is a tough year to start. I agree. It's tough. And of course, Master Dolloff with his wisdom, he's going to be like, you're going to come back and you're going to say this. And sure enough, it's like about a year into ownership, Master Dolloff, you were right. So
I love it.
It's like, it was a little bit tougher than I thought. So,
I've been there.
Yeah. So what do you remember about your early days in starting the business? You said I didn't really have any business doing this, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
I remember being extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I remember my first year in business, I went from 160 students where half of them were paying, the other half were not paying, to 80 in the first year. In the first year, I enrolled one student.
Oh, wow.
So of the 80 I had left, only 40 of those were actually paying. So I learned real quick that if I didn't get better at marketing and sales, I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah. And that's what I think I love about business the most, at least me personally, is that it doesn't matter if it's martial arts, doesn't matter if it's, changing tires or putting roofs on or selling a house, right? There's a lot of universals
Absolutely
within business.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I really like to dive into some of those universals.
Yeah.
Right. What do you see? You're talking about marketing and sales, right? What were the pivot points in? I mean, obviously the pivot point was, oh crap, I ain't making money. I need to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what was contributed to the success of the turning point for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of it was just getting really good mentors. And so I started with several really good mentors from both business standpoint and actually learning to teach properly. So I had mentors for that. I had mentors for selling as well. So the experience with them and their encouragement and belief in me and built more confidence in me. And then, that started to just snowball and build more and more momentum. But yeah, mentors was a big thing, which, one of my mentors encouraged me to read more, and meaning read period. I didn't before that, of course.
Yeah.
And since then I've read 2 to 4 business books on average a week since I was 18. So I have been able to absorb a lot of knowledge, on business operations, on marketing, on selling, on leadership, on, organization, working with people, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Over 25, 30 plus years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you remember about your beginning day journeys? Right.
Man, I think this is really great as far as...
Because here's a cool thing. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
here's a cool thing, right? I mean, the stuff that you went through, y'all stayed connected. So, you're talking about mentors, and he's one of your mentors. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd like to see how that fleshed out on your first year.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. There's a lot of things, and I know as a listener, you're probably like, "Oh, why talk about all this past stuff?" I think this is a great opportunity. I mean, some of you guys are familiar with, one of the world's most wealthiest people out there, Elon Musk. This guy is an innovator on many levels, but if you really look at the concepts of what he plays, it's off of old ideas, but refined to perfection, right? I mean, NASA's rocket you strapped in and blasted to the moon and, hope it got there.
Versus that's another podcast.
Yeah, we'll get there. But if you get on like one of the SpaceX rockets, how complex and how efficient and how they can get 33 thrusters to come up and land back perfectly. I mean, that 40 years ago wasn't an option. And, when you look at the evolution of all the stuff that has changed since 18 to where we are now, I mean, it's drastically different in the evolution of that. Even from when he started when he was 18 to when I started when I was 21, there was a big change in the game.
Yeah.
Even with the mentorship, and I would highly recommend this as well, man. It's like get with people that know what they're doing and listen and apply. So when we first opened on our first month, we had 50 new students in our first month. That was out of the gate. Now, granted,
which is a big deal.
It's a huge deal, especially then.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
And you get put in this situation to where it's like, all right, I have $1,000 left. I have a house payment. I have a car payment, and rent is a couple $1,000s a month. $1,000 does not cover that.
Yeah.
So that's where, I mean, if you have the right training and teaching and the right business methods and sales methods and have great mentorship that has built you to that point, man, trial by fire and man, success shows up with good training. So, and good mentorship. So, but yeah, so at 21, we did that. By the end of our first year, I think we were rocking, 140, 150 students by the end of our first year. So, but it was a lot. It was fun. It was definitely an experience. But
it still is. I mean, you're still going strong. So.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you and I've been pretty much with you since I've met Nick and your software as well too.
Yep.
So I would like to talk a little bit about the business of Zivvy.
Yeah.
Because it's not every day that you meet someone that has really changed an industry in such a big, profound way. Right. People add to the industry, right? You get, a couple extra students here, you get a couple customers here, right? I'm adding to it, but as far as to be multiplying in such a big way and really inspiring so many and helping so many. So your software, Zivvy, right? What are some key factors that you think has really changed the game that your software has offered? And I know it comes from experience. Hey, this is missing, right? And I want to develop something that's missing, right? What are some of those things?
So are you a martial artist who has mastered the martial arts, but could use some help in sales and marketing? TXPBA can help you.
If you're an old school martial artist like myself and you love to continue through the martial arts and grow a business in the martial arts, we look forward to working with you.
The marketing strategies that I learned before I got started really helped my business.
But it's also improved my quality of life, and others, not just in my family, but my friends have seen what martial arts has done for me.
We're really looking forward for you learning more about our proven business systems and marketing strategies.
Thank you for your interest in the TXBBA franchise family.
Ready to boost your business's impact? Fully Promoted Fort Worth is your one-stop destination for branding needs, specializing in branded apparel and promotional products. They help attract, retain, and engage customers. From custom uniforms to eye-catching items, Fully Promoted Fort Worth has you covered. Contact them today to unlock your brand's potential. 817-803-4404. Fully Promoted, your success, their passion.
When I started growing up in the business, everybody was indoctrinated to the idea that you had to use a third-party billing company for collecting tuition.
Okay.
And when I started the software, there were some other software companies out there, but we were all still fighting against the idea of people wanting to use the software for billing, because at the time we were all taught you'll never be successful collecting your own tuition.
Yeah, it does. Even if they were using software.
Even if they were using software, they were still using a billing company outside of the software to collect tuition. So the software didn't have as much value to people back then.
Yeah.
Because they were spreading their use between what the software did that wasn't billing versus a billing company. And so I had to basically reframe the idea that schools could be successful using software to collect their tuition instead of a billing company. And it was again, we were all conditioned to where it's impossible to be successful. So I had to really break that, paradigm in every one-on-one interaction I had when I was doing demos for the software and marketing and sales and everything else. It was always a conversation that had to be had.
Yeah.
And today they're still around, but they're pretty much non-existent.
Right.
They have really small client bases. I mean, it's everybody is running software of some kind to do their billing.
Yeah.
So billing companies have really, they've gone out of the picture for the most part. I mean, there's still OGs out there that use billing companies, but they are not what they used to be.
Sure.
So it really did change. It changed the industry all by itself on as the software grew and more people, converted to the idea of a billing company not being required.
Well, it definitely, it definitely had to have that paradigm shift.
For sure.
Right. It was such a huge paradigm shift in the whole industry. Right. And you're, in my mind, you're one of the pioneers of that paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Right.
I had to be.
Yeah.
To grow it. Like if I didn't figure out how to change people's thinking on it, the software would have never grown to where it is today. Ever.
What do you think, what changes that paradigm shift for most people? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's many businesses that are trying to, run their own lane in something that has never existed before.
Right.
For instance, example, Gray's Craze. We do charcuterie, right? My wife owns it. She owns a couple of locations, but this national brand of someone that does charcuterie doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. And so there has to be a paradigm shift that's like to make your own lane, right? How do you do that?
You relate it to something else that's already known.
Okay.
You just tie a concept that people are already familiar with a new one and spin it.
Yeah.
And then people already understand what it is that you're trying to do without you having to use a lot of, complicated descriptions or whatever.
Yeah.
You can just parallel them or put them right next to each other and say, it's like this.
Gotcha.
And then all of a sudden people get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Very cool. So I didn't have a big history on a third party billing before I came on. You had the history, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I was there a little bit, but not long, right? What's the biggest differences that you saw in your business with the Zivvy software?
Well, this is that's a great question. Like on there were some clients there's certain schools out there that didn't even use the billing companies.
Yeah, they weren't using billing companies either.
Yeah, they did the in-house collect. And I'm like, I don't know how you have time to do that and everything else and run a school.
They don't.
Yes.
They don't.
I don't know how people do that.
And they don't grow.
No. And then they had the billing software. Billing software was out, and that kind of somewhat solved that problem. But it was just money in, money out. Everything else was up to you to keep up to date with, and you had to know who was doing what and who was testing. And then it created, again, still a high level of chaos and responsibility for a school owner who had no margin to do anything else. And back in that period of time, all marketing efforts, there was no Facebook, there was no Google. I mean, your best bet for automated ads was a mailer or Valpak or something along those lines for marketing. And it all had to come from you. So it's, again, time efficiency wise, using a billing company was, it was horrible. And by the time the software came out, it was such a pivotal moment in martial arts operations, to where when that came out, being able to track a student, promote a student, reach out to a student on a mass scale, and be able to get them to sign up for stuff without having everybody rush you at the front counter. That allowed more time for marketing, and it allowed more time for business. It allowed more time for more important conversations with your team, allowed more time for more deeper relationships with your students. And I was like, oh my goodness. Well, as you know, we live on it. So it's imperative. So
And for me, the same thing, right? Being able to, craft certain things that work for me. Yeah. It's almost like, for me, using it is like I would say one assistant, but it's really like having three assistants.
It really is. Yeah.
It's such a profound impact, and has made a profound impact on our business. Right.
Good.
But those aspects, right? Again, universal relations between other businesses as well too.
For sure.
Right. So, I think of prospects, you could put that in a category. Right. What are things that a business owner can do to attract more prospects? Obviously using your system, but they can relate it to whatever.
Sure.
Right. What are some things that the software does that allows more prospects to come into the funnel?
Well, one of the things it does is it ties to your website so that you can link your contact forms or whatever you want to call them from your website directly into your software, which will allow automations and, pipeline, all that stuff to come into play.
And most, some other businesses that aren't martial arts or, within your, range of service, they can still use that tool, some form or fashion, right? I know there's ClickFunnels. There's a bunch of other, companies out there that do that. So if you're not, if you don't have a funnel coming from your website into an automated flow, then that would be something that you definitely should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. The fastest thing is to find as many different channels or properties or wherever that you can put your website onto, attach your website, give them a link, whatever, along with, an ad of some kind. I mean, I would every business should start with Google Local, Google Local Profile or whatever. It's changed the name so many times.
Google Business or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Google My
the
Business.
first thing to do is to claim your Google Local listing and, then populate that account with posts, with offers, with information, images, stuff like that, and really keep it up and attach a landing page or a website, onto that listing. Like it's probably the fastest way to start getting leads is with Google Local.
One thing
free.
Right. One thing that, that over the last week that we've drilled into is also Apple now has it where you can claim your Apple business on Apple Maps. Right. Because before they were using Google Maps within Apple. They went away from that. Now they have Apple Maps. And of course, in the beginning of Apple Maps, it gives you some screwball directions. And it was horrible, right?
Like all of them. They all start awful.
But yeah, same as the Google My Business, Apple Maps, the business side of it. You can customize that and upload pictures and things. I almost say on those platforms, would you agree with this? Treat those just like social media, right?
It's just another channel.
Yeah. Treat those just like you would your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever. If you're going to post there, post on these other platforms as well too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another trick is to use some of your posts from one channel to market the other channel. I think I've seen you do that. I've seen lots of people do it, but in order to grow the audience from each channel, you know, some people prefer Spotify or podcast or a blog or a website or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. But you can use a little bit of content that leads to the rest of the content onto your YouTube channel, for instance. Okay?
Yeah, for sure.
So that you grow wherever.
Cross-platform posting and things like that. Yeah.
Is that like where you see the TikTok thing on a Facebook reel? Sometimes?
Yeah. If you're going to throw something on TikTok, right, you can download it, put it on Instagram, and it leaves that TikTok there. And you think, okay, well, Instagram doesn't like that because of that little logo. But if someone's on Instagram, they prefer TikTok. They see that. They're like, oh, I didn't know you had a TikTok account. So now I'm going to go over there because that's where I spend most of my time. And, you know, for me, it's being omnipresent.
Absolutely.
Really. You have to get to the point where you're omnipresent. And obviously in the beginning, right, just like a martial artist, someone may come in and say, you know what, I really love karate. And I'm going to start with karate. And then they end up liking kickboxing and they like jujitsu and, you know, and then they do it all.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have to start with one channel.
But start with one. Start with the one that you maybe are the best at or the one you like. Do you have a preference?
Well, if I'm smart about it, I'm going to pick where the biggest portion of my audience is first.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
And then spread out from there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, I think the hardest customer to get is probably the brand new customer.
Okay.
Right. You have to spend more to get that brand new customer versus spending to resell your existing customer.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some tips and tricks that you might have that people can, and some businesses may not even think about reselling?
Most don't.
Yeah. They just think, oh, I need new customers, right? Turn and burn. And then after I do your job or whatever, then we're out.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, there may be some businesses that's normal. I mean, like brain surgery, right? You may not be like, hey,
that's a one-off.
Can I tap back into your brain? And, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's some one-offs, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but most are repeat, you know, do well because of repeat business.
Yeah. What are some tips or tricks that y'all can think of that y'all have sort of developed over the years that you can give an entrepreneur on the remarketing aspect of the business?
Create the next level off of the relationship of the sale. No matter what the product is, there's always an upgradable level to go to. Your upgraded sales stop when you stop having another level. So that's probably one of my top ones right there.
I like that.
Yeah. The other thing is you have to continually market the values and benefits of whatever your product or service is. You know, if you've ever noticed, whether it's satellite, cable service, telephone service, that you still get advertisements from the company that you're already subscribed to. And they don't always have an offer, they don't have a coupon or anything else, but they have information about the service that you have. It's dual-sided, right? Like it's going to get new customers, but it's also a reminder of the things that you're getting from them as well.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's super important because you know, we tend to take for granted the things that we use every day. You know, from a service standpoint or a product standpoint or whatever. And so we forget all of the value that we really receive from it because it's every day, you know, we
get used to it.
We get used to it.
Yeah.
We don't value it anymore, but the value is still being provided. We just don't even realize it. It's not new to us anymore. It's not a novelty. So we just take it for granted. And the minute your customers take for granted what it is that you do, you've done a bad job of marketing.
And then the next shiny penny that comes along, they jump ship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When they probably are getting everything they need from what you offer.
Yeah.
But you don't remind them often enough, both from what they are getting and then the next level or upgrade of what they could be getting.
Yeah.
We see this in the martial arts world all the time. As far as like students, you get these guys that get 6 months in, they get complacent. They like, oh, I've gotten stronger, I've gotten better, and then they quit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's funny because a couple years down the road, they'll come back. They'll be like, hey, I really like to finish, go get my black belt. I think somewhere in there, that value still might be there, but they're not going to see it again until it gets re-advertised to them.
Yeah. Well, they miss it.
Yeah.
That something's, they quit, they're not involved with it anymore, but at the same time, it's still back there, right? Like they remember that they did it. They remember that they enjoyed it, that kind of thing. And then something change. A lot of times there's a change in their life that spurs them on to the idea that I want to get started again.
Yeah.
Something that, especially for adults, jiu-jitsu, whatever, but, something that gives them time for themselves. As adults, we do pretty much everything for everybody else.
Yeah.
We leave ourselves last. And jiu-jitsu for a lot of adults is the thing that they do for, my wife has a saying that she says that you're doing something for your future self.
Okay.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it.
So what can I do today for my future self? And I think that's one that happens a lot with martial arts and jiu-jitsu is you decide to choose yourself for once.
Yeah. So most people, right, that see your advertisement, they say, I've heard 3 to 5% are in ready to buy now.
Yeah.
Right. 95 to 97% are not in that buying pattern or ready to buy.
Right.
Right. So what do you think is the best way to reach the 97%?
Well, first of all, you got to build a list.
Okay.
You got to build an email list or a contact list that allows you to be able to communicate and market to those people.
Yep.
Regardless of whether a social media channel is no longer in existence or there's no longer a website that you can run ads on or somebody else can run ads on for you or whatever. So if you don't have a list, start with a list.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you got to figure out what you're going to do with that list. A lot of people have prospect lists, but they don't email them because they don't know what to say. They're afraid they're going to unsubscribe, or they're afraid they're going to say, you're sending me too many emails, as if that's going to hurt you somehow.
Right.
So because of the fears of not knowing what to say or how to say it or what to pitch or what to offer, or the fact that you might upset someone by sending them an email, most people just don't do anything with email. So, and then the people that do usually just send offers.
Okay.
And so people go blind to that as well.
Yeah.
So then what we hear across the general small business category, we'll say, is that email doesn't work.
No.
When really it's just that most people don't know how to work email.
Yeah.
So they think it's got to be a pretty email, or it's got to be, I only send emails for special events and occasions or offers or whatever. Where most people, if they send an email every day to their prospects, there will be no problems. But most people think they don't have enough to say to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
what strategies do you think would be best when you have your list, you're dedicated, you say, you know what, I've heard this podcast and I'm ready to dive into the email marketing.
Yeah.
Right. What are some good strategies or a strategy that they can run with?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to, if you're on Facebook or Instagram or one of the social channels, is to write a message and post it on your social media.
Okay.
Look for the interactions, look for the questions, look for, what are the comments, etc. Because maybe your message is trying to teach something or relate to something, and the people ask you questions that tell you that they're not getting it, right?
Yeah.
So it allows you to find points that you need to make sure are clarified, or simplified, so that someone understands the concept.
So you're saying use social media organic as like a testing field?
Yes.
Okay.
So you create your message, you post it on your social. You see if it gets any response, period. Does it get any likes or comments or anything? If it doesn't, that's probably not an email to send out. But really what you're doing is you're just really quickly testing a communication message, right?
Sure.
You're testing a message to see if it resonates with any number of people. If it does, then you send that out as a one-off email.
Yeah.
And then you do the same thing. Did it get any response? And believe it or not, emails don't get response if you don't put in a response mechanism.
Yeah. A call to action.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that has to be there.
Yeah.
I had a question for you, and this is just curiosity on my end. So national average is about 20 to 22% on open rate, and the click-through rate on most emails, if they're good, is supposed to be around 2 to 3%.
Yeah.
What would be, I guess, your thoughts on, is that good percentages? Or do you think, is it just a volume game ultimately?
Open rates don't matter at all.
Right.
They don't matter at all.
No.
Between privacy issues with browsers and Apple and everything else is, you really can't determine that an open rate is a successful campaign or not because, they get counted so weird because it's basically just a little invisible image on an email that is opened. It displays and then it counts as an open. But if I open it on my phone and then I open it in my email client and then I open it on another machine or whatever, those are all opens from one person. So you really can't.
That's good info.
You can't get enough valuable information from an open rate. Click-through rates, yeah, standard is 2 or 3%, and that's only if you're doing it really good. One thing to do is to have a raw link in your email. So it needs to have HTTPS, www, just the whole, link to your page that you're trying to get people to visit to. And then another one should be a click here type of link, whatever that text needs to be. Want more info, click here.
Right, little button. Or
that
something.
one.
Yeah.
And then, it should probably have another call to action, of course, towards the end.
Okay.
So using 3 call to actions in an email is a tactic that's well used and works, all by itself. The other thing is just making it interesting, creating a little story to it, making it a little bit more entertaining. If you think about, some of the biggest companies like Red Bull, for instance, if you were to go on Red Bull's Facebook page right now, what would you see? Any idea?
Probably someone skydiving and
you'd see something entertaining.
Right.
Yeah. They, for some reason, don't talk about the values and benefits of the drink. Right?
No, that's true.
But they don't need to.
Right.
Good point.
So was it info tells, story sells? So,
Yeah. Well, it's also the same thing to where it's creating an association or a relationship between their product and what the product gives them as far as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's what they've done is they've just paired those two things up together.
Yep.
As far as what they're really trying to accomplish. And that relationship.
Yeah. And you think someone that's, flying down the side of a mountain on a mountain bike, right? They must have drinking Red Bull before they did that.
Or they wouldn't do it.
Or they wouldn't do it. Or couldn't do it. Without the Red Bull.
Right.
And and they don't show that, but that's what your mind associates to. Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, Red Bull is for adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
So they pair up well,
Or people in the office that sit there and pound at keyboards all day and that need a little bit.
Hey, that's dopamine too. Like, it's the same difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to get Red Bull to sponsor the Biz Life.
Absolutely.
Taylor, you on that? There you go. Perfect. Got the call out.
Yes.
Put the bat signal out. Well, cool. We're getting close to the end of the podcast.
Okay.
One thing I like to do is tell us a funny story about yourself. But I'm going to do something different.
Okay.
Okay. Never done this before. Tell us a little bit of story about Nick.
About Nick. Funny story about Nick.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have some. He's a quirky little kid in karate class.
The problem is I'm pretty old. Like, I just don't remember much.
Oh, thank goodness.
You kicked in the head too many times.
I remember one one story about Nick, and I don't remember a lot of the details, but it had to do with class starting, and I couldn't find Nick or his cousin.
This is before Blue Belt.
Yeah.
mind you. So, yeah.
And we were doing the warm up, and we had a 2-mat facility, and we were running between the 2 mats. And I couldn't find Nick, and I'm like, where is he? So I'm looking in the locker room, looking everywhere, and it's behind a door that opens into a corner. So there's a big gap behind the door.
13.
And yeah. But that's really all I remember.
Yeah.
It was before he was really, gung ho.
Okay, so I've heard a story for quite some time. It's usually every, at least twice a year, I get to hear this story.
Okay.
At our black belt. Okay. Something, and I don't remember the details, but something about someone's about to get their black belt.
Yeah.
And their instructor decides, you know what, I'm going to take you out for a big old burger. And milkshake.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's so mean.
It was Brahms. Was it Brahms?
It was Brahms.
That's what I heard.
Took him to Brahms and had lunch, filled him up with a hamburger and fries and good old gigantic milkshake, and then laid it on him that he was getting ready to test for his black belt.
Yeah. After everything is 8, then it's like, by the way, call who you want.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Kind of popped it on him,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
Good
hilarious. That's hilarious.
Good times.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there may be some martial arts schools that are watching this podcast, or someone that owns a gym, or something that Zivvy can be a solution for them.
Sure.
Right. What's the best way for them to reach you and get a hold of you and things like that?
Yeah. Well, the easiest way would just be to go to our website, which is usezivvy.com, ZIVVY.com.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Demo and all that. They can check out.
Demo, trial, all that's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Special offer.
Special offer is pretty much always the same. We do a 14-day free trial.
Perfect.
So they can check it out and play around with it and then decide if it's, going to be a good fit for what they do or not.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you, from having a martial arts business prior and post of using the software, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It really is. So
thanks.
I would definitely recommend it for anybody watching, listening. You're interested in that, please reach out. UseZivvy.com.
That's it.
Perfect. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank y'all so much for being part of the Biz Life.
Yes, sir.
And I had
Thanks
a
for
great
having us.
time.
Yes.
And I will never go to Brahms with you, by the way.
Good idea.
All right. Hey, if y'all are watching still, thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. Please like, subscribe, share out. It really does help the algorithm and let the channel grow. So we'll see you next time on the Biz Life.